Hello?
Hey Bob, it's JJ. I'm just calling to say that, we're really, excited for you to see, episode 9. We're doing a lot of great things, and the editing is going great.
Okay, I'm excited too, JJ. Do you have a cut for me to see? Because we're only 3 months away, and I need to see this movie to approve of it. Because I am the Lord of Disney.
Well, no, not yet. We're still editing. We want to get down to the wire because we want to make it great. We want to make it like satisfying, like a good Thanksgiving dinner. You know what I mean? It's gonna be great.
Okay, well, speaking of Thanksgiving, you better have a cut to me before Thanksgiving because I need to go Black Friday shopping and I need to eat a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner with clear peace of mind.
Okay, Bob, I understand that. You want to be satisfied. That's like getting your gravy, your mashed potatoes, your white meat, your dark meat, stuffing, all that good stuff. And episode 9 is going to be just like that. It's going to be like a Thanksgiving dinner. It's going to be great. And I really I can't say much about it because we're still editing, but I can't wait for you to see it.
Okay, JJ, that's fine. But I gotta go, because all this Thanksgiving dinner talk is making me kind of hangry. Goodbye.
Okay, bye.
Satisfied like a Thanksgiving dinner. That sounds pretty good to me. So, welcome back, everybody. This is the Resistance Broadcast. Do not change your dial. You did get an intercepted phone call that we retrieved between J.J. Abrams and Bob Iger. So we were honored to share that very real phone call with you guys here exclusively on the Resistance Broadcast. My name is John Hoey. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a full room today because James Baney is back, baby! And we are going to talk all things Mandalorian. We got a lot of Entertainment Weekly stuff. We're going to dive into that Snoke comic that has people going crazy, even though Kylo Ren looks like Gene Simmons in it. A lot of other stuff. So let's welcome the crew in. As I just mentioned, James Baney and also healthy as a horse, Lacey Gillerin. Guys, how are you? Welcome back. What do you think of that call? Kind of crazy. Bob Iger won that cut so soon.
John, you're going to get us arrested. Keep intercepting all these calls and then publishing them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like some sort of John Snowden connection.
Oh,
John Snowden.
Isn't it Edward Snowden?
Yeah, no, but like it would be John Snowden. John.
Oh, like
Hoey.
Game of Thrones.
Edward Hoey. But that didn't work as well.
He's back, baby. James Baney is back.
But his brain is
like,
still in
His
Batu.
His brain is in Batu Baney.
Well, I'm feeling better. So here we are.
All right. James, how was, real quick, before we dive into the poll results, people don't need to know about what Galaxy's Edge is all about, but I guess coming out of Galaxy's Edge, what is something that surprised you that you didn't know going in or didn't expect going in? That was your biggest takeaway.
It's bigger than you think. I think that's the thing to me. I felt like it just kind of kept going and kept going, and I kept turning corners. I don't know. It's almost like when you're watching a movie and you've seen the trailer and you know like a couple of those parts that are coming up, and you start thinking at a certain point in the movie like, oh, I haven't even seen that yet. Oh, I haven't even seen that yet. You know?
Okay.
I felt like every time I walked around a corner, I'm like, oh my God, the TIE Echelon, the whole like First Order area. I totally forgot about this, you know? And I don't know. I just felt like it kind of kept going, and in a good way, I got kind of lost in the world. Like which way is Oga's, you know, is it this way, or would it be faster to go this way? And I'm sure like I'd probably learn it after a couple things, but like you don't get lost in the Toy Story area, you know, but you could easily get lost in this. And I remember sitting in the cantina, and I remember thinking like outside of this cantina, there's the park, which is Galaxy's Edge. And then everything that is like the Toy Story world and like the Indiana Jones thing and all that other stuff, that's in a whole other place. And then I was like, oh wait, no, that's all in the same park.
Yeah,
Like to me, it was, my whole focus was on Galaxy's Edge. and it felt like it was the whole world, and we were here, and we paid, and we're in this area, and it just felt very, very big. I don't know. That's the best way to play it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big park.
It's a big park.
Where? So I know
It's an
Hollywood
indie park.
Studios. It's an indie park. I know Hollywood Studios pretty well. Where in relation to like the Aerosmith and Tower of Terror? Is it
Other
is it
side.
all the way? Oh, it is on the other side.
So yeah. So all right. So when you go in, you're going down like the main drag, right? If you go past where they do the Captain Phasma, all that stuff. But kind of behind the Chinese theater, you can go down and you keep going back to Toy Story Land, and you can go through Toy Story Land to the left, and that's one of the entrances.
Oh, wow.
The other entrance is if you go up to the Chinese theater and then you turn left and you go down like you're going towards Star Tours. You pass Star Tours and keep going down past Muppets.
Yep.
And there is an entrance there. And the way they were doing it for the entrance is you can only get in through Muppets and you could only leave through Toy Story. They said eventually it'll be both ways, obviously.
Free flow, yeah.
But right
Smart.
now they were counting people in and counting people out.
All right. Very cool. Well, I'm glad you had fun, but I'm glad you're back.
I built a lightsaber too, and I had to ship it home, and it's not here yet. So I'm bummed.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Someone took that home.
Yeah, I went with that elemental violet blade as I don't know, I was trying to debate with them. I asked the character there if
I can only imagine the character James is asking all these lore questions, and the guy's like, "I'm reading from a script, man." Like,
No, straight up. Let me tell you another thing, actually, too. The guy, I forget what the character's name is. It's not Savvy, but it's like a person who like works for Savvy or whatever, and I don't
Jeff.
remember what the character's name is. But he knew his stuff, and he was like really good actor. Like he had been very well rehearsed. And he was referring to the blade. I know most people just call it like a purple lightsaber, right? But in one of the books, it was referred to as amethyst. So from that point on, I was like, oh, people call it this, but the canon version is amethyst. But he referred to it as violet. So I asked him when he came over, I said, would you say violet or amethyst? And he gave me like it sounded like he got that question all the time, but like he gave me the answer. He's like, oh, it's this because this is blah, 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 blah. And it felt canon, And I was like, oh,
he
dang.
probably gets quizzed all day.
I can't help but think like James is like,
But that was the second day of being open.
James
No,
is
I'm
like,
saying like I'm sure he gets like the same questions over and over and over again.
Yeah, but I'm saying
James, I'm picturing you like
maybe after 10 years he knows that answer because he's gotten it for 10 years. This would be like 2 days.
They go through a whole training for that.
For sure. Yeah. I know.
James, I'm picturing you as Dwight Schrute questioning Ben Franklin to see if he's the real Ben Franklin.
Yeah. I really want to ask those type of questions. The closest I got was I asked somebody if they could read Arabesh, and they said, I don't know it like fluently. So they were kind of speaking as a cast member at that point. Because also they probably should have said, I don't know what Arabesh is, Galactic Basic, but...
Well, I hope
whatever.
you get your lightsaber because lightsabers are good in battle. And speaking of lightsabers in battle, let's get into our poll results, which have to do with battle right now. All right, guys, we asked
That was
you
so smooth.
who will destroy Sheevy Babes Palpatine once and for all in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. So, James, you pitched this idea. And the results, we have 4 options here. We said Rey, Kylo Ren and Rey, or other. And we said comment with who you think. So the results are other was 10%. So bottom of the barrel there, we had a bunch of comments of people saying who it might be. And some people said Luke, some people said Anakin will come back. And the range was wide, for sure. 12% said Rey. 16% said Kylo Ren, and 62% said both of them will take down Sheevy Babes Palpatine in episode 9. So Guys, which did you vote for? And were you shocked that 62% went to both as opposed to one or the other? What do you think?
I voted for both, and I'm not surprised that people voted for both because they've seen them work together to take down Snoke. So, and like the guards. So I can see why people would want to see them team up again.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you have a lot of Bendemption people voting in this. They want to see them team up together.
They didn't team up to take down Snoke. That was all Kylo Ren.
Yeah, but then afterwards they work together.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I see what you're saying, but
Stupid.
yeah, they teamed up.
Stupid.
For me,
Go ahead, James.
For me, I am actually
actually.
very surprised that this was as high as it was. I know it's a poll that I pitched, and you never want to see a poll that you pitch like have a landslide like that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a very good poll. Everybody voted for the same answer.
Because James is always like, well, this was an obvious poll this week. And now he's the one who gets to deal with that.
No, I really honestly did not think people would say that.
Yeah.
I actually didn't think so either. I was very surprised by that answer. When you pitched this, James,
Didn't
I
you
was like,
just say, I'm not surprised that people...
I'm not surprised because it's a popular answer. However,
Right.
when you pitched this in the chat, I didn't think that was going to be the popular answer.
Yeah.
Do you see
To
what I'm
me,
saying? I know
yeah.
people want that, but I wouldn't think that that would be the choice.
I voted Rey because I thought this is the most straightforward, like, hero's journey. Who's the main protagonist of this thing? You know,
Right.
the main
Right.
protagonist defeats the main antagonist. Kylo Ren could be an interesting twist too if they wanted to kind of keep him in that like, you know how Ryan Johnson said they're kind of protagonists.
Yeah.
Right.
Dual protagonists or whatever. So maybe that's possible. And the Kylo Ren and Rey thing, like, I get it. Like, okay, they redeem him. They go it's light side versus dark side versus dark side. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of confusing to me. And then on top of that, I feel like we already got this. We got this in The Last Jedi, which is why I was saying Lacey's right on that, John, because I really do think, like, there they are, the two of them in facing the big bad of the movie, and then they team up and defeat the big bad. Like, I'm like, we just got that in the last movie. Do you really want that to be the story?
Rey
again?
had no idea that he was doing that, though.
No, fair. I know there's circumstances, but I'm saying, like, when you just think of that team, you think of Snoke dies and Rey and Kylo Ren are
Correct. Right.
at fault for that,
Right.
you know, and they defeat all the enemies and they clear out the room. So I don't know. I just didn't think that would be a popular answer. And it like, it was not only the majority, but it was like 50% plus
Sometimes
the majority.
I feel like polls like this
huge.
where it's like option 1, option 2, or both of them together. Like people are always like, "Oh, I'm going to go with that one." Like, cause
Really?
yeah, I feel like that sometimes happens in polls, but it's an interesting poll, and it's definitely going to
Like
cause a discussion.
who dies R2D2, C3PO, or both?
Yeah, people are gonna be like, "Yeah, both," I guess.
They're like, both those guys are going out.
I would say that if either one of them are going out, they should go out together because the other one wouldn't want to be around without the other one. But
So
All
John's
right.
point stands.
best comment: Goblin Socks at Wiggins Andy.
I love that name.
Andy Wiggins, and he said, "I know Lacey Gillerin did not write this poll because it would have said Ben Solo,
Accurate.
and he got the most likes. So there was nothing I could do about it.
Why didn't you write Ben Solo?
Because James came up with the poll. Don't look at me.
Oh. Why didn't you write Ben
yeah.
Solo?
All right, guys, it is time. I hope James has shaken off all the rust because it's time to send it over to James for the not rusty resistance report. A lot of alliteration there. James, what do we got?
It's the resistance.
What do we have this week, John? Looks like a lot of The Mandalorian. Tons of stuff to talk about this week as we got Entertainment Weekly, EW, you know it, you love it. They do that kind of like annual thing where they, put out a lot of Star Wars information. And this year it's all about the Rise of Sky. I mean, it's about the Mandalorian. We may still get those Rise of Skywalker stuff, but right now we're looking at basically like a whole scoop on tons of stuff that we're getting with the Mandalorian. There's a lot to talk about in here, including new images that we've seen, people talking about the characters, more about like the setting. It's like the Roman Empire falls, and you have no centralized thing. It's like the people talking about all this stuff. In any of these articles, Lacey, did anything? What was your takeaway on this? You know what I mean? I know we're all excited about the Mandalorian, but was there anything that stuck out to you specifically?
First of all, I'm a very visual person, so I was like, "Yay, pictures!" So. Yeah. The pictures are the thing that really stuck out to me because we got to see them in action and we got to see more costumes and sets and stuff, which I got to say the pictures are very interesting because they don't, we talked about it a little bit on our Patreon call earlier today, but they just don't look real. Like they look kind of like too behind the scenes for me to be exclusive photos, but I'm pumped to see.
They look too real. And not fake enough.
Yes. That's actually what I'm trying to say, because when you see movie stills, it's like, especially like the Vanity Fair ones, they have like this whole dramatic like vignettes and lighting, and they filter them and edit them. These ones are like someone snapped a picture on their phone and sent it over to EW. But I was really pumped to see all the Cara stuff, like hear about Cara as a character, where her head's at, see her with the Mandalorian. I'm just so pumped to see Gina Carano just like kick major butt in this show.
In your last couple of episodes that I was not on, I heard the term romantic interest.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to be. Love interest.
Do you or do you not?
I do.
You do. See, I do not.
Yeah, I do. I think that's what's going to happen. Especially because the footage we saw at Celebration had them literally rolling around with each other on the ground. Where
fighting.
Yeah, but she ends up on top of him. Like that's such like a romantic interest.
I hear that
trope.
I think the biggest thing for me is like number one,
Padme and Anakin rolling through the lead.
Yeah,
perfect.
The leads. Yes, exactly.
Now imagine if he was wearing a helmet throughout that movie. That's the biggest thing for me.
That is true. Now that you say that, it's kind of funny that he's like in a helmet and she's like, oh well.
Right now, we speculate that they're going to utilize Pedro Pascal, but they didn't with Gwendolyn Christie. And Boba Fett, and part of his whole mystique, what makes him what he is that he didn't ever remove the helmet. So I'm kind of curious if they're going to try to pursue any romantic relationship with a character that doesn't ever remove his helmet. So.
It could be a slow burn relationship where the whole time you feel the tension, but nothing ever happens with it.
Yeah, maybe like a 2-season thing or something like that. You know,
because I was one of the people early when we started talking about this a while ago. I don't think he's going to take the helmet off much, if not at all. I've always stood by that. I don't think he's going to do that.
Well, they said that in this piece. Favreau said we're not going to see much of him. So, which I think is
incredible.
I think it's a mistake, but I mean, we'll see what happens. But
John, IG-11.
Yeah, so IG-11 is interesting to me because they kind of squashed via Taika Waititi, who's doing the voice. One of my concerns, which was, is he going to be too much like K2SO? Because they got the Cassian Andor show following it right up, and there's going to be K2 back there. Is he going to be the same sidekick who's kind of like comic relief, but he's a robot and he doesn't understand sarcasm and then that sort of thing? But he said like he's going to be almost like a naive sort of like puppy or inexperienced kid in a way.
I got it here. IG-11 is very innocent and naive and direct and doesn't know about sarcasm and doesn't know how to lie. It's like a child with a gun.
Right. So to me, that's different if they play it right, that's different than a K2SO, which was, my concern because, again, the next series that they're coming out with is Cassian Andor, and they're going to be like, oh, we're doing that again? So I guess it'll be a different take on a droid. I'm sure there'll be blends of C-3PO in him and maybe a little K2SO, and they'll borrow certain things from certain characters to give it its personality. But I'm interested to see that. The thing that interested me the most was... and they may have been overstated a little bit, was the First Order talk, because it shows that there is going to be connectivity between this show and the sequel trilogy in a way that I didn't know was going to happen. I thought we were going to be more so connected to the back end of the original trilogy, and it looks like we're going to get a little taste of both, having this show almost act as sort of a rubber band in between the two trilogies right now, because that whole space in between... besides obviously a lot of the books like Aftermath and Bloodline and those sorts of things, between these two trilogies, there's really nothing there explored. So you have this show that you can kind of wedge in there in the first quadrant of that, where you see the end of the Empire crossing over with the beginning of the First Order. And I think that's really interesting to potentially see maybe some First Order looking stuff, but also some old school Empire looking stuff, because it looks like we may be getting that coming back in Episode 9. So depending on how many of these episodes we see, if they show, because they're not going to be able to show all 8 or 10 before 9 comes out. So I wonder where they cut it off and what they do before and after Episode 9. So I'm very intrigued about that whole thing, because I did not expect First Order stuff to be a part of this at all. I mean, we may get Brendel Hux. There's a lot of things that can be done here. And I guess I'm most interested in that because a lot of this other stuff we've heard about already, but we're just hearing more of it. That sort of thing. I was like, oh, that's new. That's interesting. So
that whole thing was crazy to me. I imagine you're probably in the same boat, Lacey, you not expecting the First Order stuff.
I did not at all. I was very shocked by that. I thought it was going to rely mostly on the original trilogy.
I thought that was going to be there as well, but I was kind of thinking that they were going to lean on the, like, it's new. It's like, this is the stuff that you never got. You've gotten Imperial, you've gotten the Rebellion. This is something that we're exploring that's like, this is the Old West, the cantina bar fight, kind of world.
Right.
But we knew obviously there was going to be some stormtroopers and stuff. We even saw that stuff in the leaks. But it is interesting that they're bringing in a little bit of the First Order. Now, the First Order, I think they got started like almost immediately after the Empire was finally Battle of Jakku defeated, right? They just kind of like went off, and Admiral Sloane was like, we're going to start our own empire with blackjack and hookers. And I don't know I don't think anybody knows like what's been going on. Where did they go? What did they do? And I think a lot of that stuff even could come with Rise of Skywalker, like where was Palpatine's tie to all this stuff? And then maybe, they did this with, I think it was Resistance or Rebels. I can't remember. I think they've done it a couple times actually. So like, once the movie comes out, it just so happens then now the episodes of the cartoon series start bringing in characters and revealing more about stuff like that. Like, they know, but they're waiting until those episodes air. It almost makes me wonder if like we'll get the Mandalorian and it's like building up, and then Rise of Skywalker comes out. We find how all this stuff meshes together. And then the tail end of Mandalorian is like, oh, well, we defeated Gideon, but now there's these other people. Like, what are we even doing? What's the galaxy becoming? We can get some more of that First Order flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then when we got this news, I was like, the first thing was like, great, now we have Will of the Force questions that are like, is Snoke going to appear and all this crazy stuff. So we have a lot to talk about. Also, do you, Lacey, I'm going to throw this one at you. The fighting of the Trandoshans and how they're not BOSSK. This brought up, I was not the only one that was tweeting about this. It's like, it's not Boba Fett. It's not IG-88. It's not BOSSK. It's not, this and this and this. it feels like it's starting to rack up of like, it's the carbon copy of everything you, I don't know. I don't want to say actually wanted, but you know what I mean? Like, how are you feeling about this?
I feel great about it. I fully trust Jon Favreau's judgment and what he thinks needs to be in this show. And I think from the moment it was described that these stories came from when he was 13 and he was, writing his own little fan fiction stories about Boba Fett, like, he's going to do it the right way. So I'm actually pumped that they're newer characters and they're not these older characters that people seem to like gravitate towards, even though they really, in my mind, aren't necessarily the most important characters. They're just fan favorite ones. I'm ready for other things. I don't think we need to constantly do callbacks to the characters that everybody already loves. Like, why not give us something new? So I'm all for it. Although the picture's kind of funny. It just looks like not, like I said, like not real. And everyone was joking about how it looks like action figures.
It looks like they're like, should it be like halfway? No, all the way? Okay, we'll clash our swords. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Did you get the picture?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're good. All right.
It looks like a wax museum. It looks like one of us should be standing there like, hey, I'm standing with the Mandalorian. That's so cool.
Yeah. There's one with him and Gina, and they're
That's what I'm saying. They're just like,
yeah.
And they're like, they like did the pose or whatever. And I was like, something about like the lighting in this room makes it seem like they're still in costume, but they went to catering.
Because it's a 10, yeah. They're at the cheese table. They're at the craft table.
Right.
Yeah.
They're at the food trucks.
I was thinking a lot about the it's not BOSSK, it's not Boba Fett stuff, and I almost kind of feel like there's a little bit of a safety factor there. Like, if they made it Boba Fett and it didn't work, then fans would be mad. But since it's not Boba Fett, they're like, oh, okay, well, that was lame, but
I think
whatever.
He just wanted to make it his own. So he just was like,
but if
no.
it's good, then you have two cool Mandalorian characters, and thanks Jon Favreau for that. So you know what I mean? As opposed to bringing Boba Fett to life and all these other,
I think
now you have two cool IG droids and stuff. Yeah.
For scheduling things and like pitching things, I think what happened was he wanted to do Boba Fett, and they're like, we already have a script for a movie on Boba Fett. Like, you can't do Boba Fett. So he's like, all right, guess what? Can I do a guy like Boba Fett? And they're like, sure, yeah, that's cool. And he's like, all right, so I'm gonna do someone like IG-88. I'm gonna do someone like
BOSSK.
BOSSK. I'm gonna do all these things like that. It's gonna be like the Kirkland. If you know Costco, like the Kirkland version of like the bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back, and
the store brand.
It's just as good. You can't tell the difference.
Yeah,
but it's a little
That's what
cheaper.
I was saying. Carbon copy, the generic version.
So yeah, am I right about this story? I kind of talked about that, and I think the one thing I want to talk about, and my last thought on this, because I mean we could talk a lot. We're going to talk about Mando for the next couple of months, but. The character himself, Pedro Pascal, really hasn't said much. He's been, I think, one of the least of the quoted people here. But if he's going to have his mask on a lot, you have to like think about like, and Favreau or Filoni, I think it was Favreau, said like, well, look how much personality you get out of R2-D2, and that's not a character with facial expressions, and
yeah.
And you think to like, Kylo Ren with his mask on, you could still kind of get where he is emotionally.
Oh, you totally get it. Yeah.
Or Darth Vader,
Yeah, how they're moving their heads, and it's important how the actor and the director, more importantly, handles it. And you have Jon Favreau, and he runs a solid ship, and Pedro Pascal, you got to believe in the talent there, or else they wouldn't have put him in the suit, knowing they were going to keep someone behind the mask. So I think. While I think it's a mistake, because I'd like to see Pedro Pascal, he's very charismatic and that sort of thing, I think they'll be able to do a good job with him staying in the mask as long as he's able to keep, nail the body language and that sort of thing. And I think that's what they're trying to sell with a lot of these images, seeing him pose in certain ways and that sort of thing. But his comment, Pedro Pascal saying he wants to do the right thing, but he's always caught aside or caught off by his duties. That reminds me so much of Han Solo. It's like, Han Solo's always getting like one step forward, two steps back, and he's always in debt, and he's always trying to like get out of it, but he can't, and he keeps reeled back in. It sounds like this character is going to be that type of thing where he's not necessarily a bad guy or an outlaw. Like, he does want to do the right thing, but he has debts to pay, or he failed on a job and he's got someone on his case. Like, it's going to be one of those situations where he can't dig himself out, type of thing, I think. And that really intrigues me to see from a Mandalorian's perspective of that type of character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely did change my opinion on him a little bit, because I felt going into it he was going to be I was gonna say more like a Han Solo, but you just gave an example of Han Solo that is a little different. I guess my thing with Han Solo was he starts off in a world where he actually kind of likes this, and then as things progress and get serious and he sees maybe some other things, he starts to kind of be like, I maybe I do care.
His motivations change.
Yeah. But it sounds kind of like he might even start with that, with a little bit of a like, hey, I don't do this because I want to. I do it because I have to.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. We'll see, man. The other thing too is like we've barely even heard the guy talk, so it's hard to kind of get an opinion from a character. We've heard him say, "I like those odds,"
right? Yeah.
And very very little other than that. What is interesting about this whole thing is that Dave Filoni is working on it as well, and he said, and this is Dave Filoni talking, I've seen a lot of Star Wars. And what's most exciting to me is that I am very confident we did some things, and fans will see things that have never been seen before. So
that's exciting.
That's crazy to think. John, you're always joking about the stuff that Filoni creates for Rebels and stuff, and it's like they're going, I don't want to say crazier, but they're going into that realm of like, some of the stuff that like people have never seen before. So expect the world between worlds.
In the Mandalorian.
In Mandalorian, he's like going through a gate and stuff, and everybody's like, "What is this show?"
You go through the Sarlacc pit and you come out the other side, and you're in the Mandalorian series. There you go. So there's
it's like Narnia, Star Wars Narnia.
Yeah, the Sarlacc is the wardrobe chest of. So this is the Star Wars universe.
All right. One other thing that we want to talk about before we head on to the next segment is the Age of Resistance stuff. We don't normally go deep on the comic books.
We've been talking a lot of comics lately, by the way. We don't usually get really deep into it, but I feel like we keep talking about these.
I mean, they're churning them out. And some of them we just have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this particular piece just happens to be a hot topic right now. The Marvel's Age of Resistance, the Snoke issue came out, and it shows Snoke training Kylo Ren, which is something we've been wanting to see for a long time. So it already kind of gives us a little bit of like buzz topic here. But the big thing is, it's about Snoke taking Kylo Ren to Dagobah and what Kylo Ren sees when he goes into the cave. So either one of you want to talk about Kiss?
Is that me, I guess?
Oh, I'm assuming John wants to talk about Kiss.
Well, I made a joke. I was like, does anyone else think that Kylo Ren looks like Gene Simmons from Kiss in this comic? And a lot of people were like, yes, I couldn't connect it, but yes, he does. But all jokes aside, this was that cover that came out a month or so ago, and people were like, why does he have all those vines behind him or something? And now we know why. It's because it's Dagobah. And people, see the outline of potentially the Falcon in that cover photo. So I don't know if that's, a way of a nod to, Solo, Han Solo. But I don't know that I necessarily like this because it's just, I don't know, it's just too close to home for me. Like Dagobah, like Luke did that, and I guess they're trying to make the parallels, but I feel like it's too easy of a parallel. Like, I don't know. It's interesting to me, but I don't think this did as much for me as it did for some people. And I don't know if it's the art, like Snoke that like doesn't look that much taller than Kylo here. Like something just seems a little off to me, and like Kylo doesn't look like Kylo. And I get the
Do you guys
Luke.
remember 10-foot puppet? Sorry to jump
Yeah,
in, but like,
yeah,
you guys
right.
remember that stuff? Where like, oh,
He's supposed to be like a gigantic thing, yeah, and he was in The Last Jedi. But I guess this thing between Luke and Kylo Ren is interesting. And maybe it's a way of them trying to reel back the reaction to how Luke was standing over Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi, and they're like, well, we're going to try to explain it better, and this is one way we're going to try to do it. It's interesting. It's cool. It'll help people expand how they look at that relationship between the two. But if they're really going to dive into it, I need more than a vision in a cave in Dagobah. Like these vision things. I mean, whatever.
Lacey, do you think that this? I mean, this is what Kylo Ren sees when he goes into his like dark side kind of vision area. But would this be what you predicted? Would you think it would be Luke Skywalker that he has to encounter?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually disagree with John. I think this comic gives a lot of background to him and Luke because you have Snoke's inner monologue where he's talking about, oh, well, if I had the other Jedi with me, I'd be ruling the whole galaxy already. So you're putting in this mindset of like, that's the kind of manipulation he's using on Kylo. Like, yeah, you came with me, but you're still not as good as Luke. Oh, by the way, Luke also tried to kill you. Remember when that happened? And then he goes in and he's clearly, there's a couple frames where he's walking in and he looks angry per usual. He's all broody. And then like 2 or 3 frames in, he looks nervous and scared, like genuinely like a young guy being like, okay, I'm doing this then. And then he goes into the cave and who walks out but Luke Skywalker. And first of all, as Star Wars fans, we're like, how is Luke the thing that he fears? Luke is the greatest Jedi of all time. How is that his biggest fear? And then you remember Last Jedi when Luke says, all I saw were the eyes of a boy who was failed by his master or whatever it was. I'm paraphrasing. And he looks scared there. You now realize like that is his like fear of being woken up in the middle of the night and being killed by Luke. And then for Luke to say, I don't want to fight you. That's exactly what he says to him in The Last Jedi. It's like, I don't want to fight you, Ben. So you're getting that mirror. And then you're thinking about Last Jedi where he sees Luke and then tries to blast him. And then Luke does the whole shoulder thing. But before that, he like sits down and he looks relieved. And then there's the shot where he swipes at Luke and is like, yes, I killed him. And then realizes he's still there and he turns around and he looks nervous again. Like these same looks are being reflected in this comic. So it's literally his vision happened, but not the way he expected it to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I
back
find
you
it
up
cool.
on this, Lacey. I think like if it wasn't Luke, it could have easily been Han Solo. It could have been like him going into this thing. The thing that he fears the most is he wants to rise in power, but it seems like he's at this situation where the only way he's going to be able to get stronger and keep going and keep doing what he wants to do is destroying his family. And it's like nobody wants to do that. And that is like a situation that he has to, it's a trial that he has to like overcome.
That would have been crazy if it was Han Solo.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same idea. It's
Yeah.
like he doesn't want to have to kill his uncle, but his uncle tried to kill him, and now he's like put in this position where he's like, that guy sucks, and like I don't want to have to kill him, but like he's my villain now, and that whole horror of what that means is very similar to Luke confronting Vader, you know. But I like this. And one other thing that I was going to say about this too, John, is I know like it feels like it could have been anywhere in the whole universe or the whole galaxy, but why is it Dagobah? I think that in Clone Wars and stuff, they've kind of pointed to there's a reason that like Yoda didn't just go to Dagobah. He went to Dagobah because it was like a centrifuge for the Force. It's a very specific place. So I think that, he's that like Luke obviously went to Dagobah as well, but like Luke and Snoke and some of these people that come after the original trilogy era, they're probably like, I would think Ahsoka would probably be aware of Dagobah as well, just because it's this like specific spot where the Force flows very strongly. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Do you think we're going to see it in the last?
There.
Do you think we're going to see Dagobah in The Rise of Skywalker?
All bets are off with this. potential flash fighting or whatever was going around. But I see what you guys are saying in terms of its value for its symbolism to the story and stuff like that. I from a cynical point of view, I look at it almost as like a little bit of padding around people's reactions, like I said, to how Luke reacted to or was acting towards Kylo in The Last Jedi. People didn't like that he ignited his lightsaber over him. So maybe that's why they're using Luke here. But also, I just don't, some of this doesn't seem like Snoke to me. It really sounds more like what Palpatine would say and do, not necessarily Snoke. And also, like, this is where he began his training. Like, that's not true. He began his training with ObiWan Kenobi on the Millennium Falcon, and he blew up the Death Star using the Force. So this isn't where he began his training. So I don't know if that's Snoke strengthening his argument, or that's literally the comic book writer just not getting it right. So stuff like that rubs me wrong, and I know that's a little nitpicky, but whatever. I mean, I like it, and I understand those parallels. It's just, I think when it comes to Kylo Ren and Luke, I need to wait until I see the end of episode 9 before I can go back and look at these types of things and say, like, all right, this is cool. Because I don't want this to be the only other fill in the gaps as to what happened between these two. Like, there's something still really heavy and tangible missing for me that I need. And I'm just saying this is good and this is cool, but I just hope there's more than this. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's interesting because we've talked a lot about the, like, will Snoke be mentioned in Rise of Skywalker? And are they just going to blow past that? Like, Snoke's done, he wasn't anybody? Or, like, are they going to address that whole, like, so what was the deal with Snoke?
Yeah,
right?
was he a placeholder?
We've kind of talked about that. I still think that I hope that they address it because I just think it would be cool and, I hate to be cliche, but satisfying. I think, like, people would like to hear that aspect of the story. They'd like to figure out, how does this whole thing come together? What were all the major players' pieces? And
did they play Palpatine's music during that Last Jedi throne room scene because it was the cool throwback, dark side thing to do, or because there's a symbolic meaning to it? Like, those types of questions need to, because there was clearly the Emperor's theme when he's torturing Rey, like, clear as day. Palpatine's theme from the Death Star, So I don't know.
Plagueis' theme.
It was my song the whole time, Darth Plagueis. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool. I'm not trying to be too cynical, but Lacey, you and James, you guys made very good points.
Well, cool. Well, that's the news for the week, guys. A lot of Mando, a lot of comic books. So I'm excited about everything coming, but there were a few other things that we wanted to kind of talk about really quickly. Let's get to that Scoundrels rundown.
All right, James. From Mando to Marlon Brando, I'm going to give you an offer you can't refuse, and that is 3, 2, 1, punch it! All right, guys, this rundown is going to be pretty quick because we want to get to your questions. So what we're going to do here is talk about New York Comic Con 2019. We will be there, sort of. 2/3 of us will be there. James will be at the base, probably doing some editing and that sort of thing for us. But Lacey and I will be there. There's a bunch of panels going on. There's going to be a book panel having to do with the Rise of Skywalker and the books leading up to that and stuff thereafter. There's going to be an audiobook creation of panel. There's going to be a Vader Immortal panel. There's also going to be a Lucasfilm Publishing panel, more traditional Lucasfilm Publishing panel, showing the future of Star Wars books and comics. We're going to cover as much of that as we can for you, and we are going to be there, as I said. So if you are at New York Comic Con on the weekend of October 4th and 5th, and you see us, come say hi, and we'll chat, nerd out, all that stuff about Star Wars. And of course, on our YouTube channel, as always, and Star Wars Newsnet, we'll have all of our coverage from New York Comic Con for you guys. So that's pretty much it. We'll give you more details on what's going on with our plans for New York Comic Con, but that is the rundown for this week. So now we're going to send it over to Lacey to get into your questions and ask the Resistance. So Chew of the Baka, get us out of here.
All right, guys, it's time for Ask the Resistance. You've got Star Wars questions. Hopefully, we have some pretty good Star Wars answers.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
We've got 5 questions this week. So the first question comes from Neil Marriott. I'm assuming it's like the hotel Marriott. At Kidda 1708. And he asks, do you think the opening shots of The Rise of Skywalker will be the scene from the trailer where our gang are being chased by the First Order jet troopers, and it ends where they're overlooking the camp? And ladies first, so I'll go first. You know, I haven't really considered what the first scene of this movie will be. I feel like we always talk about what's the last scene going to be, but I've never really considered what the first scene of the movie is going to be. But I think this is a pretty cool option. The only thing that's kind of against that is that we have the shot of Rey jumping over the TIE silencer type ship. And then we also have the shot of Kylo walking through the desert, which looks very similar to Pisana, but is like in a very cold filter, dark filter type look. So there's other scenes that go into that chase scene. So I feel like that's kind of like a middle of the movie chase scene, more than something right in the beginning. I think in the beginning, we're going to pick up in that jungle planet where Rey is with Leia and they're getting ready to go on a mission together. I think we're going to see the gang pick up where they left off in the sense of where they've been and where they're going. And I think you're going to see Rey training to like get you set up that she knows more than she did in the first two movies. You know what's funny? I think I have that same plant, John. Is that from Home Goods? Because I think I have that plant.
JJ's like,
Action.
Oh my gosh. All right. Next is Bruno du Amaral at Bruno du Amaral. And he asks, do you think The Rise of Skywalker could have a flashback of the Return of the Jedi scene to explain what happened to Palpatine? James, what do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think the biggest thing here is knowing that JJ said he tried to follow the rules of Star Wars with The Force Awakens, and then Rian Johnson broke some of the rules. And I think one of those key things being like flashbacks. We never got flashbacks. And then we got like 3 big, flashback moments in The Last Jedi. So then I think JJ goes, oh, well, cool. Well, I think now that we've opened up the floodgates, I can do stuff like that. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all if he was using flashbacks and using storytelling in that different degree of like, well, I'll tell you what happened, but I'll also show you what happened. I'll show the audience what happened back then. And this one seems pretty straightforward. I mean, like, everybody's like, oh, how did that guy come back? Well, the last time we saw him alive and the last time we saw him dead was like, that exact moment. So that's probably the go-to moment of like, him kind of evil villaining it, like, oh, I was able to blah, 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 and do the thing,
The monologue.
So, yeah, the monologue, while like Rey and Finn and Poe are like tied up above a tank of
on a
sharks
train track
with laser beams on their freaking heads. Yeah. So yeah, I do think this is going to happen, Bruno. So yeah.
Nice.
Yep. In fairness to JJ, he kind of gave us our first ever Star Wars movie flashback when he showed like Kid Rey being dropped off with Ungar
In the
Plot.
Force vision. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're technically kind of right, but I think that's what I'm thinking. Like, I think he wanted to break those rules, but he's like, how could I do it? And he's like, maybe if it's like a Force vision, it's current. It's still happening.
Right.
This is happening right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, next is Darth Del Rio at Darth Rio. And he asks, should Lucasfilm stay with George Lucas's view and interpretation of the Jedi, Force, and the overall universe, or should they let the creators have the freedom to interpret it as they will? For example, balance of the Force seems to not mean what it did under Lucas. John, this is a tough one. What do you think?
I think there has to be some sort of agreement, and it may even have been put in place when the purchase was made, where George Lucas was like, it's not my company anymore, but you have to adhere to this or something, like to preserve, because he was all about, from when he started Star Wars, George Lucas was all about, I want to make sure I own my property so that nobody can tell me how I need to tell my stories. Now, he has sold that property, but almost like Palpatine, like you want to like preserve your legacy. Like, I think he probably wanted something in place to make sure that Star Wars didn't veer too far away from what he wanted, which was making these morality tales for kids and that sort of thing. So I think they'll always respect that. I think creators will have carte blanche, like Rian Johnson has the open canvas, but I think it's that thing, like that respect to what George Lucas created, that they'll always try to stay true to. Now, the balance of the Force thing, that's up to interpretation, I think, to people and what they think it is, because even in story, I think there's a lot of confusion between the Jedi and people thereafter on what it meant. But I think when it comes down to George's vision of what Star Wars is, I'd like to think that they'll always stay true to what he wanted, and maybe he like left them with like some kind of like, not necessarily a guidelines, but some bullet points, like you need to adhere and keep to this as true north or something like that. At least I hope so.
Yeah, that makes sense. Next is Matthew Olson at molsonman86, and he asks, do you think there will be any big cameos in The Rise of Skywalker? Hayden, Liam, Sam Jackson, Harrison, and this kind of is for all of us. So I'll start. I think you're going to see Harrison Ford in The Rise of Skywalker.
Me too.
So we have to guess one?
Well, just pick one. That's my pick. And I think you'll see Ewan McGregor, I think, at some point.
Out of those four, vote for, first of all, Sam Jackson, no way. Right? But I'll say Harrison is probably the most likely, because again, I think it would be the most satisfying. That's all we got to go on, guys. What is the most satisfying Star Wars movie you can imagine? So Harrison, probably.
A scene between Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford.
With Carrie.
Or just the three of them together somehow,
I agree. I think we're definitely seeing Harrison
that's
Ford.
why I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
I think there will be some surprises.
I think we're going to see Hayden Christensen too, even though I don't want it. But I'll love it when I see it, I'm sure. I don't think we're going to see Ewan McGregor. I really don't think so. That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay,
the
cool.
Sam Jackson one is way out of left field.
That's where I was kind of zoning out for a second. I was like, Sam Jackson.
Well, Liam Neeson, he listed too. I think he's going to be in Kenobi. He won't be. I don't know. I don't think he'll be in Episode 9.
Yeah, like all the characters that are dead, like Hayden, Liam, you mentioned Kenobi, like those characters have the ability to show back up because we all know they learned how to do that.
The reason I'm saying
Sam
Kenobi,
Jackson,
though,
Mace Windu never did,
right?
Well,
but the reason I'm saying
Kenobi's different from Ewan McGregor, though.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
I'm saying Ewan because they're doing this show, so I would assume that they'd somehow bring Ewan back because of the show. That being said, I think they're going to bring back Kenobi, the character, somehow because he's in The Force Awakens. Even if it's by voice.
Yeah.
He's still in it.
I just think, for continuity's sake, you can't bring back ObiWan Kenobi without it being Alec Guinness.
Maybe, but maybe it'll be Ewan's voice.
Yeah. Unless they do the magic and blend the two or something. But I don't think visually you're going to see Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't think.
Yeah, I think John's right on that. I think if they want to bring back Obi-Wan, they're going to try to do something where they're using old footage of, Alec Guinness. I just think that makes more sense.
Even if it's just a still
that also,
him as a
like, I
Force
know
ghost.
that, like, having Ewan in there does tie it in more, but doesn't it feel better? Wouldn't it just feel better if it was, like, cool, interesting footage of Alec Guinness that they manipulated somehow? And you're like, whoa, that's not like, they didn't just like cut that out of a scene. Like, that looks like he's there.
Yeah.
Looks like they got him back.
And Luke would recognize him. He wouldn't
like
be
an
like,
outtake.
who are you?
Yeah.
like they did with Gold Leader and stuff. Like they go back to the footage and they're like, is there anything that Alex shot? Alex shot.
The only way that they could possibly bring Ewan back is if during these force fights that are rumored, if Rey and Kylo see them fighting at some point, Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Oh, that is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like if they bring back other fights and they see glimpses of other fights.
So JJ was supposed to have that famous scene, Star Wars Newsnet reported and all that, where like when she does the flashback, she was supposed to see Luke and Vader.
And they
on
got that
Bespin,
other guy, yeah.
And they never did it. And is there any possibility that in this movie, during battles, you see like Rey and Kylo fighting, they look to their right and there's Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting.
That'd be
they look to their
dangerous to
left,
me,
there's
wouldn't it?
Luke and Darth Vader fighting.
I'm not saying it makes any sense. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility that that could be one way.
No, I agree.
Whoa.
I just hope they don't. I want those two to be like the focal point. I don't want it to be Kylo and Rey fighting, and then we're like
dreaming right now.
Look
we're
over
going
there.
crazy.
It's Mace Windu fighting, some Geonosians. Like what?
All right. Last question is from Joe Labrasi.
Luca Brasi.
At Labrasi_Joe. So close. He asked, if you could get one Star Wars character, not actor, character, to be a guest on TRB, who would you choose? Guys, I love these kind of questions. These are super fun.
Yes, I want to answer more questions like these. So if you got them, send them in.
Because we get a lot of like, what do you think's going to happen next? What do you think's going to... Okay, go ahead, John. Who would you pick to have on the show?
I don't want to go first.
James, who would you pick to go on the show?
I mean, I'd love to have a lot of different people, but the first one that popped into my mind, Hondo Ohnaka. I think that
right out of Galaxy's Edge
would be a barrel of laughs. Yeah, I don't know. I think he would just have so much fun. Like we'd be like, "What do you think, Hondo?" And he'd be like, "Does it matter what I think, or does it?" Doing his Jim Cummings. Like it's so good. Mm-hmm. I've fully come around on that character. I thought when he was in Rebels, I was like, "Get this guy out of here." Nobody likes Hondo. And then I read Pirate's Price, and I was like, "You know what? This is a fun character. I like this." And then from then, my vision of him has changed. So now when I see him places, I'm like, that's awesome. I'm glad that they brought that character in. Yeah. So that would be a fun one, I think.
This is an interesting question for me because you don't really think about the characters often. You think about, like what actor would I want to come on, not the character itself. So character, probably I'm stuck between two. One, Yoda, but Yoda from Empire Strikes Back, not prequel Yoda. And two, Han Solo, because he would have the best stories of what he's gone through. What are you laughing
I like
about?
your specification on Yoda.
I just love funny Yoda. Like funny, jokey Yoda. Over like very serious, like you have to kill Anakin
what's your
Yoda.
Pick?
I'll pick Han Solo because he probably has really, really funny stories and really crazy scenarios that he's been in that he could be like, it would probably be an amazing episode where he'd be like, oh, that one time.
What age Han Solo?
New Hope.
Oh, so H. Ford.
Yes.
Okay.
Plus he's hot, so that wouldn't hurt
Did you
either.
say Age Ford?
H. Ford. Think of that. Think about it. Harrison Ford. Okay.
I get that, but they're all Han Solos are Harrison besides
Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess all right. And there's Force Awakens Harrison.
John?
All right, anyway.
Yoda, but it would not CGI Yoda, so either from Empire or Return of the Jedi.
You guys are lame.
Why? Yoda being with Yoda would be probably one of the coolest things ever.
It really would be.
I agree, but both of your answers of Yoda has a stipulation that it's got to be this Yoda.
Well, I don't like Yoda that doesn't look like Yoda, that looks like a gremlin. Like, that wasn't Yoda to me. I'm sorry.
I like jokey Yoda. Is that it? That's your answer, Yoda?
Yes, Yoda. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if you had another. You made it sound like you had another one.
No, he said 1, and I abided by the rules.
Okay, sassy. Guys, thank you so much for your questions. If you want to be on the show, make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. And tweet us your questions either just at us or with the hashtag #AskTheResistance.
My second answer was fish none.
My second answer was Jack Fish.
She would just judge me the whole time.
Yeah.
John, back
Lacey,
to you.
what fish would be your guest?
What?
What fish?
Yeah.
Jacked
Are
fish
you about to see
is
jacked
what John's
fish?
gonna say.
I
got
said
it.
jacked fish.
All right.
All right. Hey, guys, who would you have on if you got to pick? That's what we want to know. But more importantly, we want to know if you're subscribed to the Resistance broadcast, because we know you're aware that we have 2 episodes every week, every Monday, every Thursday. We don't take breaks. It's crazy. It's been a very long time. If one of us isn't out, the other 2 step up. This is what we do around here, guys. We bust it all the time. So make sure you are subscribed. You can go to resistancebroadcast.com, which takes you to our page on StarWarsNewsNet.com, which you should be going to every day anyway, as Star Wars news heats up for all of your latest Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. You want to subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're watching, how are you out there? Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, Google Play, all those types of things. So you get alerted when we have episodes. So do that. If you guys want some merch, we have our t-shirts like this. I'm wearing my Thank the Maker shirt right now. Go to tpublic.com/user/resistance broadcast. And if you guys want to support us, go to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. We have 5 tiers starting at $2 every month. If you join us at our tier 2 level for $5 a month, you can submit topics to the show for us to talk about. And also you get access to a lot of our exclusive content over on that page. And I do need to give a special thank you to our Patreon generals. We salute all of you. That is Carmelo, Brian Shalito, Andrew Staley, Neil Lowry, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, and Val Trichkoff. Thank you all so very much for your support. We appreciate it. Guys, you can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing at StarWarsNewsNet.com. James, glad to have you back. Where can people hit you up to tell you how much they missed you while you were gone?
In the comments section. No. Twitter and Instagram at Meyer Trunks, and also hopefully this week there should be a new book discussion for Black Spire with me and Kyle Larson. So we're going to be talking about that book in full spoiler fashion. We're going to rate it and discuss it from a lot of different angles. So yeah,
nice.
check it out.
Sweet. Lacey, how about you?
People can find me on Twitter at Lacey Gillerin. I'm also on Instagram.
Are you going viral on Instagram too?
Nope. Just posting photos. No.
She gets so mad at me. Okay. All right, guys. No. We are going to be back on Thursday, where Lacey is going to put James and I to the test. And we're going to face off.
I did my research.
In our quote game called Who Are You? So we want you to study up, because we want you to play along with us on Thursday. So enjoy your weeks. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And we'll see you soon on Thursday when the base opens again, right here on the Resistance broadcast. We'll see you around, kids.
Bye.